My father can't keep his hands to himself and always invades my privacy, so I gave him a taste of his own medicine. Now I'm fatherless because he was tasting other women and telling on himself. I, 24F, am fresh out of college and living with my parents so I can finish paying off my student loans. I don't make a lot at my current job, but any little bit helps in this current economy, and you just have to do what you need to do. Part of my work involves a lot of written letters from clients that are supposed to be confidential and only for my eyes. The letters, of course, go to my parents' address since they live miles away from a post office and driving to a P.O. box is a huge pain. The issue starts and ends with my father being the person that he is. He can never respect other people's boundaries and always has to poke his nose in my matters. For some context, pretty much ever since I started high school, whenever I received mail, my dad would open it. Whenever I received Christmas or birthday cards in the mail with money in them, my dad would hand me the card and insist he'll keep the money safe for me until I started demanding he hand it over. Any package I would order for myself, he would open and hand to me. Sometimes the products were used by him as well. I got really heated about it one time when he received my acceptance letter to my dream college, and instead of waiting for me to come home to open it, he opened it himself and called me while I was at work to congratulate me. I've spoken to my mother about how uncomfortable this makes me feel, and she told me she'd speak to my father about it. He would apologize and refrain from doing it for a week before repeating the behavior the following week. I had also talked to my dad about the confidentiality of the mail I would be receiving now that I'm working, and he said he understood. However, it all came crashing down a few weeks ago. While I was working, my dad came into my room and handed me open envelopes from my clients. He even tried to have a conversation about it with me, but I just ignored him until he got the hint and left. After work, I yelled at him for violating client confidentiality, to which he got defensive and said that I live in his house and any mail sent to his house he had the right to read. Whatever, fine, so he wants to play it like that. I thought I would give him a taste of his own medicine by going through his mail first and show him how invasive it felt. So the week after, I got the mail before he got home and started going through them one by one, thinking about how I was going to rub this in his face, but instead I was left speechless. I found credit card statements on jewelry and restaurants that were too fancy for my dad to go to alone. I couldn't remember the last time my dad took my mom on a date or bought her any jewelry. I also found a letter addressed to my dad from a woman who stated how tired she was of hiding their relationship for so long and how desperate she was for his letters to reach her. I decided not to keep such disgusting behavior under wraps and called my mom immediately. When my dad noticed the mailbox was empty, or at least I presume so, he ran back into the house as pale as a ghost. He walked into the kitchen to see me and my mom reading his mail. Before the fighting could start, my mom asked me to leave the house. So I drove to my aunt's, who lives 45 minutes away, and explained everything. I came back after 2 days when my dad's stuff was gone. My mom told me my dad's living in a hotel, and she will be in contact with a divorce attorney. Turns out my dad has been having an affair with a family friend and was hiding it through letters to leave no digital footprint. My dad ended up showing my mom the stash of letters he had, and she took photos of each and every single letter before she asked him to leave. I feel at fault because I initially wanted to be petty with my dad, but it unraveled into this huge event and made me think, no wonder he's been looking through my stuff. He was giving himself away. I feel like I shattered my mom's world since I can hear her cry every night about it since the incident. Update 1. Thank you all so much. I wrote this all out last night, drunk off my mind, and I never expected this much kindness from strangers. I'll go ahead and answer a few questions here and then give an update. Was my dad using my money from the gifts to buy stuff for his mistress? I'm not sure. I'm 50-50 on this answer. I received cards when I was young with money, and it was the same routine. Aunts and uncles would leave like $100 on the card, and my dad always gave them to me when I was younger. As I got older, obviously, the money reduced to around $20 to $40. I do believe my dad would give me back at least half my money in those cards, which would make sense as to how he was able to make such huge expenses on his mistress. I need to collect proper evidence, so I plan on calling my aunts and uncles and other relatives who would send me money. The mistress would send letters addressed as a business or a credit card company. If you ask me, they were doing the most. When my mom would check the mail, she would see the letters that were addressed to my dad as bills or some crazy BS and never open them because she doesn't handle the bills. A lot of packages were sent by the mistress as well, which is why he went through my packages, and I don't want to imagine what kind of crap she was mailing him. Now for the update. As I said before, it's been a few weeks since it all went down. I've been doing my best to comfort my mother while she deals with all the legal business and my dad's constant appeals to my mom to apologize and beg for forgiveness. I've been here to listen to her, and she keeps spiraling between wanting to forgive him and cursing him to hell. I told her my own personal opinion, which was to never take back a cheater. She did basically everything for him, and she shouldn't see it as her not being enough for him. That's his fault for not appreciating her. The mistress was also a married woman. My mom reached out to her husband, sending him the letters she had taken photos of, and even had a long phone call with him about what was going on. He initiated the divorce, and the mistress is now angry at my father for not being more careful. The mistress's ex-husband, whom I'll call Henry, has been someone my mom has been able to lean on throughout the legal aspects of the divorce. I suppose birds of a feather flock together, and they both are fortunate enough to be able to vent to each other since they were betrayed by the ones that were supposed to be their rock. I hear the mistress is still reaching out to him for forgiveness, which I honestly think is very funny since my dad is doing the same thing. She was financially dependent on Henry, and my dad isn't making enough at his job to support the lifestyle she wants. Yesterday, Henry asked my mom to come out to lunch with him, as cliché as that sounds. They've been sad shut-ins for the past few days, and they agreed to go and get some fresh air. I encouraged my mom to do so and to call me if my dad or the mistress decide to show their faces when they went, just so I could pick her up and have her back. My dad hasn't apologized to me at all about reading my mail. In fact, he's called me and left me voicemails telling me that this whole situation was my fault, then going and crying, saying he regrets everything and he hopes he can still be my dad. I honestly don't know what to do with him right now other than ignore him. I don't know if there will be another update, but I will if something major happens. Again, thank you so much for the supportive comments, and I hope some of what I said clears things up for you all.